Hello, I'm Deborah Wallace, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I have developed Pause and Process as a gift, as an opportunity for everyone to create some time and space, consistent time and space in their life to process negativity, anything in their lives, so that you can be your best selves. And so, my intent is that when you leave this call, this listening, that you will feel a little bit lighter and more connected to your best self, which will then, the more that we take care of ourselves, and that ripples out into every relationship and system that we interact with. And that's in a nutshell what I usually talk for the first 10 to 15 minutes, describing some sort of concept, psychoeducation, insights with my experience of have been practicing for nearly 25 years, working with individuals, couples, and families from all ages and in many different parts of the world as well. And then I end with the last 10 to 15 minutes with some sort of practice, exercise, meditation that will help you access some of the things that I talk about. So today, I'm going to talk about love versus fear. And I've written a book, How to Train My Brain, which I will use pages from this. But I tend to see what inspires me that day when I'm going to come up and talk. And war is on my mind. It still blows me away that we have so many wars going on in our current day. And although it blows me away, I am sadly not surprised. And it's why I focus on parenting. And so much of our world is fear-based. And so I want to talk a lot about that concept of fear-based and what love-based is. And sometimes I interchange love with the word trust, and I'll talk more about that. So I'm going to basically, I talk a lot, I share, I've been blessed to train with many people, neuroscientists and psychologists of child development, and how we develop really matters on it's nature and nurture. It's not just one thing. And so we have this part in our brain. So I use a dog in my book that there's the amygdala. There's a lot of technical terms, obviously, but I'm just trying to condense it for easy. But I use my hands a lot. But we have this part in the middle of our brain that is on 24/7, scanning for cues of threat and safety. And so I can also interchange the word love with trust, safety. Those kind of all go together, whereas fear is fear. And now we can't eliminate fear. We actually, it's going to happen. But this part is on 24/7, scanning for cues of threat and safety. And what feels threatening to one person may be different for somebody else. And even when it comes to, so one of my passions is also having conception and birth, and having nonviolent births. One of the books I read was Birth Without Violence by Dr. LeBoyer. And I had a few stillbirths. I had a stillbirth and quite a few miscarriages. And so when I was going to adopt, I was ready to adopt, and I made this decision, conscious choice, that if I was going to have another child, that I was going to have it without fear. And my gift with my baby at that time, was to know that every day that this baby inside of me is a gift and is not guaranteed. And in any moment it could be gone from me. And that is the energy. And that's what that stillbirth taught me, was that every moment is a gift and nothing is promised. And I think in so much of what we do is fear-based. And so when I say fear-based, we're reacting when we're coming from fear-based. So when I talk about that part that's on 24/7, once it cues a threat, within an eighth of a second, it's going to its memory bank, it's scanning other data that's going on, and it needs to make a quick assessment on your safety. And so if it's feeling a threat, it is going to react, it's going to feel defensive, it's going to do all these protective strategies to do whatever it can to stay alive. And that just takes an eighth of a second. So I kind of tell everybody, I do couples family therapy, like everybody's going to have this eighth of a second reaction. And then often we have an eighth and another, and that's what makes things get worse and worse because everyone's eighth is building up. And what I choose is to take responsibility, how to learn to be responsible. And so which is loving and helps build up cues of safety and trust and builds trust in relationships. And so that starts, and it makes me sad how much our medical field, I know doctors are doing the best they can, but they'll use fear, unfortunately. And even in one of my births, I deal with a lot of birth trauma. There's a lot of fear. I can do a whole talk on this, but it's really it's covert. Like you don't even notice it. It's someone using their power. Just the fact that someone has more power over you is going to create fear. And it's not even that person's intentionally doing it or meaning to do it, but that dynamic, that power differential naturally is going to create that and make the person under here feel less than and then feeling unsafe. And so then we react, and then we have all these other things. And then so power is a big thing. And so with fear-based, so our society's doing it. So some examples of fear-based are using threat, using your power. I'm going to use, this is another image that I have on my website. This is done by the Post Institute, Dr. Brian Post. This is, turn that off. And what this shows is oxytocin-rich parenting versus oxy-poor-rich parenting. And now the reason for the use of oxytocin, so oxytocin is our love bonding hormones, and that comes from cuddling, love, kisses, kindness, whereas poor is fear-based. And that is going to elicit our stress responses. And so like when I said that eighth of a second it takes for us to start having these stress responses. And then if you have no good memories of this going well, or you have no one next to you that's helping you feel safe and seen, soothed, and secure, then you're going to keep producing stress hormones, and that's going to lead to more reactivity. And so this is more of a parenting example, but this is where you would use timeout, isolation, spanking, consequences, behavior modification, yelling, physical tactics, medication, rather than modification. And again, these are terms, obviously medication is good in cases. There's actually, when we are in black and white thinking or all or nothing thinking, that is also a sign that we are in a survival mode. So most things live in a continuum. So I will use a continuum. And also, as you see, the farthest of reactivity is death penalty. I mean, killing someone. I mean, that reactivity that's the extreme end, whereas perfect love is on the other end. And then love is timing, containment, flexibility, understanding, emotional processing, breathing, limits. Kids need boundaries, limits, affection, discipline. Definitely need discipline. Remember, discipline is to teach. It's not to hurt. And so again, Dr. Bruce Post, this is Dr. Brian Post work from the Post Institute. But on we live in systems as a society, we have so much fear-based going on, and that's war. I mean, war is the extreme threat, using power to dominate. It's so painful. It's just so painful that we are doing all this stuff and just causing more harm to humans and to our earth that is full of natural resources. And the other sad thing about war is that war is often fighting about natural resources. someone feels like they don't have enough, so then they fight to get more of it. Natural resources, and it's so painful. It's so painful. And there are so many things. I call my business Positive Reframe, not to be positive all the time, but it's also about being positive about being negative. And there are positive ways to get our needs met, to access natural resources. And we're all born, our bodies, our minds, our spirits, we have an innate intelligence. It's brilliant. I'm just going to share a few image. This is a spread from my book. Let's see. So, what I often talk about is really fundamentally, whenever anything's going on, our first assessment in our brain is love or fear. Like those are our primary emotions, love or fear. And when we have negative emotions, that means we have unmet needs and we are in fear. We are afraid of not having enough. We are afraid we are not enough. We are afraid someone doesn't love it. Like that is fear. When we are in love, then we feel full, we feel whole, we feel connected, we feel safe. And so all good things come from feeling love. And so this is my image that, and like I said, I use a dog in my book to reference this. But so then when we are feeling love, and then that's when we can access our smart file, our owl part of our brain, and when we're connected, we can be responsible, wise, and kind. Whereas when we feel fear and we sense a threat, we have that stress, and that stress means we are having too many difficult, overwhelming thoughts, feelings, or sensations or events happening that we cannot understand. And then we disconnect from our smart file, and we automatically are going to go to our gator, which is our survival part of our brain, which has all those protective strategies to keep us alive and will unfortunately hurt others. And then my other page in my book, this is meant to be a coloring book. That's why it's not very colorful. I used a few colors here and there. But it's meant to go not sit in one sitting, but page by page. So when we feel safe and loved, that's when we're going to have those more positive feelings of calm, safe, fun, alive, sociable, interested. We can understand more. We can be more open-minded. We can learn new information. We can make responsible choices. We can control our thoughts, attitude, body behavior, have empathy, which means we are aware of other people's thoughts and feelings and how they affect us. We are strong and healthy and can be kind. Whereas when we feel fear, which all negative emotions come from fear. So if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling alone, you're feeling upset, not loved, you're afraid at the root of it. And that's when we're worried, overwhelmed, stuck, out of control. You cannot understand or learn new information. You make poor choices. You lose control of your thoughts, attitude, body behaviors. You are unaware of thoughts and feelings of others and unable to empathize. And you feel weak, sick, and become mean. So there's always so many dynamics I can add to all this. So the beauty is, we really can create, although we really can create this connection and love-based responses and strengthen those connections within our own mind, body, spirit, which then can ripple in every system that you're in. That's what I love about being a licensed marriage and family therapist is we are trained in systems. So, every system you interact affects you, and everything you do affects everybody else. And so it is really hard for most people, but definitely those who are highly sensitive, to go about their days when there is war going on and when there are victims of serious, horrible things. It's really hard to keep experiencing day-to-day life and functioning at a level that feels good. And I've actually written many poems about this dynamics because it's really hard when you feel all that. Yet I do always remind people that, yes, it's important to empathize and feel that. Yet we also need to do things to connect to our heart and spirit and feel joy because and love, because that is the beacon. That is um, the tool. That is the way through. Often that's one of my saying is when you are overwhelmed with conflicting thoughts and feelings, love yourself, love yourself through, love you and your family through, because it's that is going to help get you to your high functioning brain so that you can come up with more ideas and be more functional and do the things that you need to do to create greater change and systemic change especially. So I know my mind and my heart is heavy with the news of war, and for many of my clients it's a lot. It's a lot. So I decided today I'm going to walk us through a loving kindness meditation. um, so that is how I will walk us through. Let me pull that up. If you've never done any meditation, it's really important that you feel comfortable and safe. Your comfort and safety is the most important thing. So if you're in a public area and you don't want to do this, that's totally understandable. Having consent and some sort of power in a situation is good. It is healthy. It leads to wonderfulness. So do what feels right for you. I sometimes recommend just listening to it. You don't actually have to engage in it, but just listen to it. And if you're wearing headphones, like your body is listening. Your body's always listening. And that's when I go back to, violence. I find that so many of us have been raised with fear-based parenting, and so much of society is fear-based parenting that our inner voice becomes this critic and is extremely violent. Like I remember it was like 20, no, it's probably, gosh, 30 years ago. And I was like, man, my thoughts are so violent. Um, it's sad. And so what I love about my profession is I get to help be a mirror for people and shine their brightness back at them and their goodness in them. Because that's what I see. And when I see people, as I see they're good. So this is a special meditation to kind of help give loving attention to the world and also to yourself at the same time, because we all need it and we all deserve it. So put your hands on your heart. I find that helpful if that feels comfortable, because this helps to let you know that you are bringing loving attention to your experience here. Also, that you'll feel some warmth, that pressure. It also kind of gives us that reminder of when we're babies and being comforted. And that's what you're doing here. And so you feel that warmth, that gentle pressure, your chest rising, falls beneath your hands with every breath. There's no right or wrong here. You're just noticing the simple action of just noticing something and naming it is actually very soothing for our nervous system. It helps make sense of it. Which is why I talk about processing. Processing just means naming it, noticing it, so that you can move it out and clear it. Because when we don't, it just builds and builds and then creates illness within, or disease, or internal conflict, or externally it explodes and causes more suffering and pain and hurt to others. So again, feeling that warmth of your hand on your heart, feeling the rises and fall. And now I want you to bring a person or another living being who naturally makes you smile. This could be a child, grandmother, a cat, a dog, whomever brings you happiness to your heart. It can even be a bird or a squirrel outside your window. There's no right or wrong. We just want to feel that lightness and happiness and warmth in your heart. And really let yourself be in the presence of that being. Enjoying the company. And it's all right if you want to keep your hand here or if you want to lower it down to your lap, whatever is comfortable. That noticing is also important. Now, going back to that person, that being that brings out love in you, I want you to notice how vulnerable this being is. How they too are subject to sickness, aging, death. This being also wishes to be happy, free from suffering, and safe, just like you and every other living being. And I want you to repeat softly and gently, feeling the importance of these words as you're saying them to this being. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. And when you notice if your mind has wandered, return to these words and the image of the loved one you have in mind. And savor any warm feelings that may arise. And now I want you to think about a being that you're worried about, who you might not even know them, but you feel for them. You have empathy for them. And so if there's anyone coming to mind, or group of people, population, no right or wrong, I want you to imagine seeing them. And then we'll say these words to them. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. And then now I want you to think about someone or a being that you're struggling with and having a hard time having empathy for. And you can even just notice if you felt any shift in your mind, your body, your spirit as you are imagining these different types of beings. So this one that you're struggling to have empathy for or connect to, or have a lot of negative emotions towards, or conflicting emotions, you may feel that differently in your mind, body, spirit. And just notice that. And breathe into that. And if it feels comfortable to say any of these phrases to them, do so. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. And if it was harder to say those things, then that's okay. You also need compassion for yourself. And this is where we're now going to add yourself to this circle of goodwill. I'm going to put my hand back on my heart. If you want to do that, please do so. Feel that warmth and gentle pressure. And just for a moment, sit. Noticing again the rise and fall of the breath entering your body, your lungs. And now say, may you and I be safe. May you and I be peaceful. May you and I be healthy. May you and I live with ease. And now I invite you to visualize your entire body in your mind's eye. Notice any stress or uneasiness that may be lingering within you. And offer kindness to yourself. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Now take a few breaths. Just sit quietly in your own, savoring the goodwill and compassion that flows naturally from your own heart. And you may return to any phrases anytime you wish that felt extra warm and soothing and peaceful. And in your own time, slowly open your eyes if they were closed. And just notice how that brief, loving kindness meditation for beginners felt on your mind, body, spirit. And naturally, you would want to do this meditation over 20 to 40 minutes. I've kept it short here. That is the essence of it. Yet you will get more benefit if we do for longer. Yet less is more. I did a talk on that recently, why that's important for our nervous system. Actually the last talk I did was on level of disturbance. So, if anything, thoughts, feelings, or images came up that were on a scale of 0 to 10, a 7, a 6, 8, 10 level of disturbance, and I highly encourage that you seek out support from a therapist, as this online modality is not used for that. It's best to get one-on-one treatment, and we all need a safe place to process and express and make sense of things that have happened in our lives, even if you don't think they're traumatic. In fact, many people dismiss and think, oh, that was fine, because that's a fear-based reaction. That's what you have to do to survive your environment. You have to push down your feelings. We do actually have to process them, and it doesn't need to be big. It doesn't need to be drawn out. There are simple, not easy, but simple ways that you can weave into your life to process stressors so that you can feel better and be your best self. And so I hope that you are feeling a little bit lighter. Feel free to comment if there's a topic that you'd like me to speak to. I'd love that. And listen, subscribe, and take wonderful care. And I really wish for so much peace and safety all around the world for every living being. Take care.